Hello, hello. It is December the 18th, 2023, and I wanted to take a little bit different tack than what I've been doing. I have been researching, as some of you know, a lot of the IRS processes and the definitions and the fact that none of us are supposed to be paying income taxes. I have even stopped paying income taxes. I have even stopped paying income tax or taking out income taxes on my employees. None of them are very happy about this, but I actually, after researching all of this stuff, and I'm going to do a video coming up on exactly what it is that these people have done with these definitions related to trade and business and other things, what an employee is and an employer. It's some pretty twisted stuff. But today I was going to do something a little bit different. I ran across this guy. His name is Brandon Joe. The website here, or his YouTube channel, is Williams Brandon Joe. And at first he was talking about a lot of things related to financial processes, which I'm going to get into as well, because I think that he's misleading a lot of people. And if I'm wrong, he can do a video making fun of me. And I'm not making fun of him. He means well. He's full of shit. He's very, very much full of himself and thinks he knows stuff that I just don't think he could back up in a court of law. So I'm doing these videos to try to hopefully keep some people out of trouble if they think following him is a really good idea. Now, there's pretty much every video that he's done, and actually the website that you see on his screen right here is actually his website. It's called onestupidfuck.com. He's anyway, I won't get into any personal attacks because it is what it is, but he's got a 100-page, because, and I know this because I downloaded and put it in a Word. He's got a 100-page write-up where he goes through, he calls it the state national theory, and he lists all kinds of garbage in there. Some of it is legit. Most of it is just complete insanity. So I actually, in the beginning, I took his document and I read the entire thing, and I made notes in it for him, totally on the side. Don't want any acknowledgement, anything. I was just letting him know that, these things are actually not true, and you might want to go do some more research on them. The only response back was some kind of emoji. I don't even know what the hell it meant. Probably some smart ass thing telling me to go screw myself. And so nothing, he didn't do anything. He still puts out the same stupid videos and making the same claims. So I just wanted to start going through and reviewing some of his videos and some of his claims to see, if somebody can either give me some evidence that he's right and I'm wrong, or to at least maybe question some of the things that he's claiming, because some of it is just complete insanity. The number one thing that I'm doing today is I'm going to talk about this video, and it's just because it's an easy picking, is this flag. And you see the flag that he's flying behind him over here on his wall. He has that flag flying all the time. I thought this video would be interesting because I would assume that he's going to explain what the hell this flag is and where it came from. In truth, he doesn't. It's just like Anna von Wright, no mention of where it came from or anything. It's just a claim put out there that it's the civil flag, that the flag we fly is a wartime flag and this is a civil flag. And so what we're going to do is just kind of go through his video. I'm going to stop it at places where he makes some claims that are ridiculous. In fact, the whole video is ridiculous, but we'll just start here and see what he has to say.
Was owned by the International Monetary Fund up until maybe 1999, 1998. I haven't looked into all this stuff too much, and we're going to go off on a bit of a tangent here. So there's a guy here named Russell J. Gould. It's this guy right here. Let me see if I can get some more pictures of him. Russell J. Gould, right? This dude apparently is the flag, what do you call it? Postmaster General. So he actually filed some papers and stuff like that in the 90s, and he was actually able to gain control over the flag and thus gain control over a tremendous amount of political.
So, and again, this is just an example of I don't even know what you call this. So these people, and wait until you get to the next guy that he brings up, but these people go out and file paperwork and make claims, but nobody's paying attention to their paperwork, and nobody's done it. Like, the guy has no control at all. He has no control over anything. I don't know how you would take the control of a country's flag, because there's no, I don't even know how you think that would work. But this whole claim is ridiculous. I mean, the guy claims that he took over the American flag. Sure, okay. What does that mean? Nothing, because he has no control over the flag. The country doesn't pay any attention to him. He can file paperwork, but who's he filing it with? And where did he go to court and actually prove that he has the flag? Where did he prevent the United States from using the flag? Where did he do anything constructive with the ownership of this flag? And the answer is quite simply nothing. It's all just made up stuff that, you know, he claimed, and then dipwads like Brandon here are going out and following. So let's just continue and see what else he's got to say. I'm gonna skip over the rest of this diatribe because he goes on for 10 minutes about this guy and his website and all this other garbage.
Power. He does have a documentary called, I don't know a super ton about him. I know 2018, I think, something like that. David Windmiller, he says that he's a 92nd degree Freemason. I don't know. He says a lot of things. I don't know a super ton about him. I know that when I try to watch him on YouTube, it's a bit much for me. So I haven't really been able to consume a lot of his information. This is the main YouTube video that.
So you would have to ask, if you haven't researched the guy and you don't know a lot about him, why you'd even bring him up? Like, why would you even mention him? David Windmiller is an interesting fellow. He conned, and I do mean conned, a lot of people into believing that he had done something that was actually something. In reality, the guy was a nutbag. And he kind of alluded to it here, although he thinks it's legit, is a 92nd degree Freemason. I mean, the guy literally made up a quantum language that he created. In fact, it's worth noting, because this is something else that I have a huge contention with, that nobody will actually support, or they won't defend. They just make fun of me because I don't know what I'm talking about. But you'll notice how Williams Brandon Joe wrote his name here. He's got his last name, a comma, I guess that's his first name, comma, middle name, dash, Joe. I don't even know how the hell he's written. This is all weird. Usually they don't even write it like this. I think you put your first name, a semicolon, and your last, or your middle name, and then a colon, and then your last name is some absolute bullshit. But they write their name like this and they pretend that it actually has a meaning. This guy that he's actually talking about here is the guy that came up with the way to write that name. He claimed that this was the proper way to write your name in order for you to be the master of the universe. And then dipshits like Brandon here run around and claim it and put it on all their paperwork. The funny thing about it is you could go back to the founding fathers that created the country, and they didn't sign their names this way. In fact, you could go back in all of history and you will never find anybody that's actually writing their names in this way. So this is completely made up bullshit from this guy who claims to be a 92nd degree Freemason and claimed that he had created a quantum physics language, and that he was the, when he would go into courtrooms, he would take over the courtroom. If you go and watch the guy and use even a tiny bit of common sense when you're listening to him, within 10 minutes, you'll realize the guy's full of shit. Like, he's making claims that just absolutely don't happen. There's actually court cases, and I have copies of them in my Obsidian. There's actually court cases where he had filed lawsuits against the federal government or against the president or against whoever, and the judges actually have to kick his court case out of court because they don't even understand what he's saying. Like, his court briefs are so jacked up. And if you go read them, you'll understand they're making so many claims and so many like nonsensical arguments that the judges can't even have a conversation with him. They end up just kicking the court case out of court because it doesn't make any sense. So David Wynn Miller he's dead now, but David Wynn Miller was an absolute nut job. There's absolutely no proof of anything this guy ever said, and he literally made up an entire language and then claimed that it was the end all be all of legal. And so all of his claims are BS. If you're following anything that this guy said or did, you're making yourself look stupid. And that includes writing your name in this jacked up manner that Brandon and all the sovereign citizens and all these other dipshits all come out and say. You don't write your name. You write your name like you always did. All this crap about autographs and signatures and all this stuff is just utter BS. So if you're following that kind of stuff, please move on.
You can check him out. It's this one here when he's talking here. It's like a 6 or 7 or is all like super complicated, and every single definition is the same as every other definition in terms of importance, and it's just kind of like this big giant clusterfuck, and it's super confusing, right? So what Russell J. Gould and David Wynn Miller did is they created an entirely new legal system and way in which to contract and communicate. It's called the Quantum Parse Syntax Grammar Solutions, right? Basically what it is, it's supposed to replace this entire fucked up system that we see now. And he's already contracted in with the UN, and he's already taken over control of the flag, and he's the Postmaster General, and he's already done a whole bunch of like court marshaling, and it's a really interesting, like total under.
Now, I want to say something there. Anna Von Wright, the lady that supposedly heads all the sovereign citizen people, she makes claims like this. She says she's filed paperwork with the UN, with the Pope. She has conversations with the Pope. All this just absolutely ridiculous stuff. Filing paperwork doesn't mean shit. Like, I have filed paperwork with the state. I have filed paperwork with the county. I have filed paperwork with the federal government, with the IRS. None of it means anything except if I go to court, I have documentation that I had sent to them, noticing them of some, whatever the conversation is. Like, for example, I just sent a notice to the IRS about their claim on their frivolous taxpayer page, the frivolous arguments page on irs.gov. They claim that we're all 14th Amendment citizens. And so I put forth an argument to prove that that is a ridiculous stance to take, and and refuting all of the court cases that they attempted to reference to prove that we were all 14th Amendment citizens. It's an insane argument. And so I filed paperwork with the IRS explaining to them that I'm not a 14th Amendment citizen, and it is physically impossible for me to be a 14th Amendment citizen. And where are they getting the information? So I filed paperwork. The point is, the IRS never responds to any of my questions. They never answer any of my questions. They never respond to any of my letters. And so what good did it do to file the paperwork? Well, the only good that I see is that if they ever attempt to take me to court, I can show many examples of me asking them questions that they never bothered to answer. And so, that's kind of the idea behind filing the paperwork. But to think that I file paperwork and it solves my problem, that is just a stupid way to think about it. I mean, it actually, like, for example, one of the things that the sovereign citizens and a lot of these people tell you to do is to file an affidavit of truth or affidavit of citizenship with the Secretary of State and with the IRS commissioner and those people. And I did these things. But the thing that people are confused about is they think by them filing that paperwork that they're going to get noted in the computer somewhere that they're a special citizen, to leave this person alone. It's kind of like the passport stuff where everybody claims, and I'm going to get into the passport thing again too, but where everybody claims that you file your passport in this way and you get back a 5-star passport, which is like a diplomatic passport, and the cops, when they pull you over, they're told to immediately leave you alone and do not detain and all this other bullshit. None of that stuff is real. You file the paperwork so that if they do take you to court, you can prove, because of the way you filed the paperwork, notarizing it and sending it through registered mail, you can prove that you have attempted to clarify this particular situation, and it is admissible into court because of how you filed the paperwork. But that document in and of itself isn't going to do anything. I mean, do you really think that the dipshit that does passports is sitting there and they notice, because there's no checkbox on the passport form for you to declare yourself a state national. So they're going to notice that you put square brackets around the zip code, and they're going to automatically say, oh, well, that's definitely a state citizen, and they're going to give you some special passport. It's ridiculous. And not only that, the people that are doing all this stuff, you get on some of their forums, which I generally get kicked off of pretty quickly, but you get on any of their forums and look at what they're saying, there'll be people in there that did exactly the same thing as the guy sitting beside them. They got completely different passports. None of these people can actually explain to you what the stars even mean on the passport form, or on the passport card. So there's literally no knowledge whatsoever, but just a bunch of people running around making claims. So you just have to be careful when you're paying attention to this. Now, and I do want to be clear, this is a messed up situation. It is absolutely, these people are not wrong when they say you're not supposed to pay income tax. They're not wrong when they say that we're all being misled and taken advantage of. But a lot of the claims in between make me wonder if they're making the claims to be able to say that, or to get us in trouble, might get us to file some piece of paper that ends up getting you in trouble. So just be careful.
Underground, like, massive operation that's going down that I don't know a whole lot about, but basically parse syntax grammar. If you care to get yourself involved in this to a great degree, you can learn more about it. It's basically like the new way in which contracts and law will be written. And I believe it's already been signed in and taken on, and I don't know all the details. I believe it's already been.
All right, we're going to skip on over this because he doesn't know anything about what he's talking about. He's literally putting forth information for people to digest and think that there's a there when there's not. So we're going to skip over this entire section and try to get somewhere where he actually starts to talk about something else, and then we'll pick up there.
It's basically a full breakdown where every single word has one specific definition. Master startup technology. I don't know. That's why I haven't gotten into this too much. He involved in some of the deepest, most intense shit to clean up everything and what he's trying to say. And it's just so The flag that you see, the typical American flag, that's actually a wartime flag. So American flag. This is actually a wartime flag. This means maritime war flag. Okay? So what that means.
Now, again, I just want to point out this is his claim, but he doesn't defend it. He doesn't show anything to prove that this is a wartime flag. And you also have a huge problem in the fact that there are actual legislative papers in Congress from the president. Washington is one such president, describing the desire to create a flag and describing how they would like that flag to look. Now, the legislation doesn't actually create the flag. It doesn't, get into that kind of particulars, but it does tell you how many bars they're going to have, that they're horizontal bars, and then how many stars are going to be on there. And then as they add states, they pass legislation that adds another star or 2 stars, depending on how many other states have been added to the union as they progressed. And so there's all kinds of legislation that backs up horizontal stars or horizontal stripes, how many and where the stars are positioned, how white on black or black on white or blue on white or whatever. So there are legislative things to discuss that. This flag that this dipshit is flying behind him has no legislation whatsoever. In fact, this thing is only brought up in a fictional novel. And one time, they have literally one reference to a flag that looks kind of like this, but it was in a fictional book, and nowhere else in history do they have any legislation or any other thing that backs up this flag. Now, this dipshit has got a whole video, a 20-minute long video talking about this flag, and he never actually talks about that flag. So that's worth mentioning. But let's continue.
Means is that, technically speaking, let's say, for example, if you fly this bad boy in front of your home, what you're saying in that communication is you're saying, this is a war zone, and if there's any soldiers in the area that need a place to garrison, they're welcome inside my home for garrison purposes. Now that's a little bit tricky, because when you fly this flag and you're communicating that could communicate in strange ways, meaning like, that could communicate as tacit consent that police can go into your home or your property. That could.
I mean, where he gets this stuff is just, it's mind-boggling. And the thing that irritates me is that he's trying to present himself as a knowledgeable individual that everyone should listen to. He's got an entire training course. In fact, this video is from one of his training courses. He's got, and the only thing I will give him credit, he's not charging anyone to do this stuff. So I'm kudos to him, because most of the people, and I'm going to be reviewing some of the other people's videos as well, most of the people are going to charge you to even have a conversation with you. So even if you're trying to point out something that they're saying, or you have a question about something they're saying because you don't think it's correct, they're not going to respond to you. You're going to have to literally pay them to get any kind of interaction with them. This guy, at least he is, going and giving this stuff away for free, but he's also presenting himself as being knowledgeable on this stuff. And then all through the video, he tells you that he doesn't know anything about it. He hadn't really studied this, that, and the other, but then he makes a claim that, flying the American flag in front of your house is going to make the police be able to come in. That's just total bullshit. There's no basis for that at all. Also, he needs to go read the Constitution, because garrisoning, putting military people in your home is against the Constitution to begin with. So flying a flag doesn't waive your constitutional rights. So anyway, we'll continue.
That could be all sorts of different things. So what you actually want to fly and what you want to have is like what I fly. I have stickers on my door. I wear my hat often. There's pins. You want to wear what's called the civil peace flag. That's this one, obviously. That's the one that I have everywhere. This is basically a peacetime flag for people that are living in the land jurisdiction of the actual physical land. And it's not a maritime flag. It's a peace.
Now, I want to bring up just a couple things. He typed in civil peace flag. This whole thing, this civil peace flag thing, came from the sovereign citizens. So this whole thing is a sovereign citizen flag, and so him typing this in, there are plenty of places that are printing this flag now, where you can actually go get the flag and other things related to it. In fact, just out of curiosity, if we go in here and type in because I'm all right, so this is that flag, and then if we, let's see, I'm just kind of curious what, see, there's not civil peace flag, often referred to as stars and bars, the civil flag, peace features distinctive. See, all of this stuff, there's no, how come people haven't learned that the civil flag is now the lawful? This is from 2018. Lawful flag is sneaky way of implying falsely that. See, the truth is the civil flag is now and always has been the flag of the United States. But they don't have that. None of them actually. Let's see what this guy has to say, because I'm just kind of curious if anyone actually gets into any of this stuff. So this is the guy making the claim. And then he put up questions like this one are among the lowest forms of trolling. Not that there are any high forms. Update. I was wrong to assume that this was a troll question. Apparently it was asked by someone who was convinced by a conspiracy theory that insists that the United States should have two flags, a military flag and horizontal flag. And they claim that's a civilian. The second flag doesn't exist. Second flag does exist, but only since the 1990s when a conspiracy theorist started peddling it. The essay of the see, and this is the problem that we all face, is that there is a massive amount of information out on the internet, and it's one of the reasons that I put forth the claim that you will never have artificial intelligence. And the reason that you're never going to have artificial intelligence is because the only thing that a artificial program can consume is information off the internet, and that information is 90% bullshit. So how would an AI who has no ability to get outside of the computer ever be able to determine what is true and what is not? Because they don't know how to look at mannerisms of people making claims, or the things that they're saying compared to historical documents. They just don't have that type of ability. So what you're going to always end up with is an artificial information that shares whatever it thinks it knows, but it's always going to be biased. There's no way to actually have a true artificial intelligence. And it even backs up to us as well. How can you be truly intelligent if you're also reading absolute bullshit that's written like this on the internet? The thing that I always go back to is that when a claim is put forth, this is the civil flag. My immediate response is, where is the legislation, or where is the congressional record that defines what this flag is? Like, you're making a claim that something happened, but in order for that to be a legitimate occurrence, there should be some supporting document, not from the person making the claim. And Brandon is very bad about this as well. He has his 100-page write-up where he has gone in and made a bunch of claims, and then people refer to his information and say, look here, see, here's proof. The problem is Brandon didn't get his information from proof. He got it from another person doing the exact same thing that he's doing. And so when you start backing up, and it takes a lot of time, I'm not going to lie, I spend a lot of time researching all of this nonsense, but you get to a point where you back up to and realize that in, you know, whatever year this guy made that claim. And, you know, it's like the signature thing. That one guy made up how to write your signature to make you the master of the universe. And then everybody started copying him. And now today, just recently I got into a Telegram group, and that was all I asked. I wasn't even trying to be confrontational at all. I just said, where is the evidence to support that this signature has any significance whatsoever? Like, I've never seen this in any book, in any literature. Even the founding fathers didn't sign things like this. Where is the supporting evidence? And I was attacked and kicked out of the group for asking a question. And that's literally why I'm kicked out of all of these groups, because none of them can support the bullshit that they're saying. They just say it because somebody else said it. And so you end up with this propagation of bullshit that just ends up making everybody look stupid. And the reason I have a problem with it, and the reason that I feel like I need to say something, is because when you allow things like this to expand and to get more and more people going out in public and stating these things, you completely annihilate. And it's one of the reasons I question whether some of these people are CIA plants or FBI plants, is you end up undermining the entire movement, because now you've got people out there claiming just absolute stupid shit. And so back up, take a breath. Be careful about who you're following, because most of these people are absolute morons, and Brandon is no exception.
Time land jurisdiction flag, human flag. So, I don't know why it should be identified.
Are you going to let the greedy heating companies and their crazy high prices decide if your family is allowed to stay warm this?
Identified as state national. So the state national would have a civil peacetime flag like the one here on my desk, like the one on my hat, like the one on my wall, okay? The American flag that you normally see with a gold fringe, which is what you see on police officer uniforms and that kind of thing, that is a martial law wartime flag. So you see that in a lot of the courtrooms. You see that in police officer uniform. This is exactly why the country is constantly at war. It allows the president to rule the.
All right, so this is another big thing. The gold fringe on the flag is a wartime martial law meaning. Here's a problem, guys. If you go look, the military has documentation, and in one part of this video, he claims it's top secret data that got released, and now you can go look at the information. This is total bullshit. The military has flag documentation. You can go look at it. You can go download it and read it and find out exactly what every single part of that flag means, why it's done, and everything else. There are congressional records. There are presidential requests to get information on certain aspects. The gold fringe is a good example. There is actually a presidential a question that was put forth to the military to ask them the significance of the gold fringe around the flag. The military responded back to the president and informed him that it was only a decorative addition to the flag. It has no meaning. There's absolutely no meaning whatsoever of what any gold fringe means around the flag. It was only added to make it prettier. And so you have these people like Brandon and the sovereign citizen people, and I mean, oh my God, just everybody that claims this gold fringe has some significance. And when you walk into the courtroom, you can prove it's a maritime flag because it has gold fringe around it. That's just total bullshit. There's no supporting evidence to prove that that is the case at all, like none. So that whole conversation is absolutely, completely ridiculous. I'm going to let this guy go on for another minute or so, and then we'll sum this thing up.
The country by executive orders. They want to keep that going, which is why we get into so many wars. A declassified Army regulation book called Flags, Guidance Streamers, Tabards, and Automobile and Aircraft Plates, right? Now, you can go into all sorts of definitions. So every single flag, you can just type in, I think I typed in like Army Flag Book or Army Flag Manual. And you dreamer. Very, very specific. I mean, flags are practices owned by the International Monetary Fund, and I believe in the 90s is when Russell J. Gould and David Wynn Miller got their hands on.
Okay, so essentially, he put out a video talking about flags, and you would assume that he was going to talk about the flag that he's flying behind his back and that he has on his head and he has on his desk. The whole video, 20 minutes long, and he doesn't even talk about it. There's no conversation in here whatsoever to support the flag that he's actually flying and making claims about. And yet, during this little diatribe of nonsense that he's putting out there, he does bring up a flag manual, but the flag manual itself refutes what he's saying, but he doesn't actually get into it. He doesn't actually go bother to read what he pulled up, because if he had, he would understand that the gold fringe doesn't mean anything at all. There's no, in fact, if you search for gold fringe in the flag that he's in the book he's talking about, it isn't even in there. So all I am going to start doing is, there's lots of information out there. There are lots of facts out there. I'm not paying income tax any longer because I am 100% sure that you're not supposed to. Now, will they come arrest me? Sure, but they're not going to be able to do it legally. They're going to have to come just do it and prove that the Constitution has no power any longer and that we have no rights. And at that point, y'all should just know that. If I do get arrested, then y'all can know for sure that our country is dead. You are a slave and there's nothing you can do about it. Otherwise, I'm going to attempt to go through and start looking at some of the nonsense that these people are putting out and hopefully figuring out what the truth is. I'm not claiming that I'm an expert. I am not claiming that I'm a pure constitutional. Well, I am a pure constitutionalist, but I'm not claiming that I know every aspect of the Constitution and that I understand everything that's going on. I do understand quite a bit, and there's still a lot to learn. There's a lot of things I'm still researching, but the IRS portion of it is what will really fuel your interest in learning more about it, because it is the easiestly disproven aspect of the entire code section. The IRS is so obviously just misinformation. It's kind of mind-boggling. But I do feel for, a lot of people that get sucked up into people like Brandon that are making claims and getting them to go and file paperwork and stuff that is going to get them in trouble. They don't know it yet, but they're going to. And in the next video, I think I'm going to address something that he suggests that everybody goes and does, which is filing UCC paperwork and stuff to get your mortgages paid off and all this kind of nonsense. He also claims that you don't have to have a tag on your car. I'm going to address some of that because there's a lot to understand here, and having people running around making claims and then everybody just following them without actually doing any research about the claim is going to get everybody in trouble. And again, it causes me trouble because when I start trying to have a conversation with the sheriff and I bring up any of the terms that these dipshits are going out and using, then they immediately assume that I'm associated with them. And so my credibility goes down 10 notches because I'm automatically assumed to be a sovereign citizen. And so we need to start looking for facts and not just going around and spreading a bunch of bullshit that some Anna Von Wright or Brandon Joe Lee or Brandon Joe Williams, I don't even know what his damn name is because he's written it so stupid, they're going around and spreading. So just do your research and don't trust everything that these people or that I say. Just go look it up.